Today we're diving into Robert Penn Warren's classic story, Blackberry Winter. But we're not just reading it, we're looking at it through a really unique lens called the Quest for Balance framework. And what this reveals is pretty amazing. How one kid's strange, cold day is actually a blueprint for a soul's entire trial of existence.
The story kicks off with this incredible line. I mean, just think about that for a second. For our narrator, 9-year-old Seth, time isn't something that's always moving forward. Nope. It's a thing. It's solid. It's a world that's permanent, totally stable, and never, ever changes. Which, is a pretty perfect way to describe how the world feels when you're a kid.
And right there, that's the whole ballgame. Because on this one particular day, Seth's solid world doesn't just get a little crack, it absolutely begins to shatter.
All right, so to really get this journey, we have to start where Seth starts, inside this idea of a permanent, solid world. And this isn't just some cute, nostalgic memory, it's actually a really deep psychological state.
The framework has a name for this: temporal mass. It's basically a fixation on the way things have always been. It's this deep belief that how things are right now is how they'll be forever. For little Seth, his whole identity is wrapped up in this illusion. It's kind of like how a small child literally cannot imagine a world without their favorite toy.
So the first crack in this perfect little world comes, believe it or not, from the weather. It's an unseasonably cold day in June, a Blackberry winter. This is what kicks the whole story into gear, and it gives us our first look at a really core concept: resistance.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. The framework actually splits resistance into two types. You've got natural resistance, which is just the cold itself. It's automatic. It's just a physical thing happening. But then, when Seth gets furious that his mom won't let him go barefoot, that is embodied resistance. See the difference? He takes a simple physical discomfort and he gives it this huge emotional weight.
And this scene just lays out the whole process perfectly. First, you have the striving. Seth's tantrum about going barefoot isn't really about shoes, it's him insisting that the cold, the lack of warmth, simply shouldn't exist. Then his mother steps in as the regulator, or the wise parent, trying to steer the demanding child away from a bad idea. And finally, you get the contraction. That's the moment he gives his shoes a savage look, and bam, that feeling hardens into real, active emotional resistance. Okay, so the next big crack in Seth's world shows up on two legs. A mysterious tramp appears on the farm. But here's the thing. This stranger isn't just some guy passing through. He's actually the physical embodiment of a really deep psychological idea. In this framework, that idea is called the shadow. Just think of it as everything we try to push down, everything we hide in the dark. It's all the parts of ourselves and our society that we refuse to look at because, well, they just don't fit into the nice, neat, solid picture we've built for ourselves.
And man, the tramp fits this description perfectly. His face is unmemorable. He has a sickish grin. He's basically a walking symbol of someone who's lost their inherent dignity. He completely rejects the rules of the farm. In doing so, he represents a soul that's been crushed by what the framework calls social mass, which is just a way of saying he's carrying the immense weight of being a total outcast, completely cut off from the world.
But the tramp isn't the only one messing with Seth's worldview. The way he thinks about his impoverished neighbors, the Alley family, shows us another major imbalance in how he sees the world.
Seth's really judgmental view of the Alleys, it turns out, comes from a deep feeling of his own insecurity. The framework would call this a root chakra imbalance, but what it really boils down to is a core feeling of unworthiness. He's using this made-up, perceived scale of external stuff, like status or cleanliness, to prop himself up and measure his family's right to exist against theirs. And this right here is such a crucial point. Seth is confusing value, which is all external and comparative, with dignity, which is inherent and can't be measured. So when his father makes him call his neighbor Mr. Alley, he's not just teaching him manners. No way. He is teaching him that dignity is an immeasurable quantity, that every single person has it, no matter where they sit on some imaginary social ladder. So we've got Seth's social order being challenged, but it goes even deeper. His very understanding of time and existence is about to get shaken to its core, and this happens through another key figure, Old Jebb. Now the framework has a really cool word for figures like Jebb: aeviternal. It's a big word, but it just means a being who seems to exist outside of normal time, someone who provides a sense of continuity. For Seth, Old Jebb has just always been there. He's lived forever, making him yet another pillar holding up that solid, permanent world. But then, even this pillar starts to crack. Jebb says this, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
But it isn't just sadness. This is where the story gets seriously profound. It's a statement about his place in the entire cosmos. He feels like he's been abandoned by the very source of existence. This feeling, this sense of cosmic abandonment, is a perfect picture of what the framework calls a crown chakra imbalance. It's the ultimate fear of just ceasing to exist. To put it another way, the child, that's the individual mind, feels like it's been completely left behind by the mother, which represents pure universal awareness. This is a soul's deepest, darkest trial.
So wow, after this one crazy, monumental day, where does all of this leave Seth? Well, the story's powerful ending makes it clear. This wasn't just a bad day. It was the very beginning of a lifelong trial.
The narrator, now a 44-year-old man, tells us that he has followed that tramp for his entire life. Think about that. 35 years have passed, which just shows you the incredible lasting impact of that single day. But what does he actually mean by following?
Well, it's a journey the framework calls epistrophe. It means a return inward. You know that feeling when you constantly look back on a moment from your childhood to try and figure out how it made you who you are? That's what he's doing. By metaphorically following the tramp, his own shadow, Seth has been doing the hard work of differentiation. He's trying to separate the man he is now from that solid world of his childhood to find his true self in a world full of loss and change.
And that, really, brings the whole story right back to us. For Seth, the tramp was his shadow. It was the uncomfortable truth he had to confront in order to grow up. So it leaves us with a final question. What part of your own solid world have you had to confront? What shadow are you following?